What's up, everyone? I'm Helen Herimbi, and this is another episode of The Watch. Now, we started The Watch because we wanted you to watch us, of course, but also because we wanted to look out for each other during this lockdown and hopefully beyond it. We're going to be doing that through providing information, through talking to folks in the arts, through talking to people on the front lines, and a whole lot more, all in the name of providing some light in this lockdown. So to try and lift your spirits today, we're going to be talking about COVID-19 and cancellations. Welcome back to The Watch. Today I'm joined by South Africans who know a thing or two about COVID-19 and cancellations. I'm joined by Tato Moeng, Andile Matobela, and Benisha Jacobs. Hey guys!
Hi.
How is the lockdown treating you?
Lockdown for me has been great, a time to kind of rejuvenate, reassess myself. And I just took a shower now, so that's great. It's late in the afternoon, so time is not of the essence anymore.
Yeah. Benisha?
For me, it's kind of because school is on a standstill, so it's kind of depressing. Yeah, just a bit straight, like how, like the way forward.
Yeah. Okay. Andile?
Well, for me, man, surprisingly, I'm enjoying it. I enjoy being home because, that's where it all started, on the couch, being creative on the laptop. So I'm actually enjoying it, funny enough, so far.
Yeah. So for most people, Andile, I think I'm going to start with you. For most people, this is a time, like Tato said, to reassess and to rejuvenate, right? But you are the co-founder of Skipani, and you're also a DJ, right? So this means that some of your gigs have had to be canceled.
Yeah.
So what was your initial thought when you heard that actually everyone needs to social distance? We cannot be together at Groove.
Well, for me, I was kind of like hit hard because, as you mentioned, I'm a DJ, so I have a lot of like personal gigs that I'm booked for that I've been playing at, and also, I'm hosting a lot of events myself. So I was kind of like, this is bad for me because obviously I had to cancel all the gigs. And also on the Skipani side, I am starting this year. We started the Skipani events department. So we started doing events this year. So now I've been hustling since December last year, only to be told by brands when I finally found them to say, "Ish, man, I think we have to kind of like hang ten a bit on that event," which makes sense. So for me, I've been kind of like hit hard, but also at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to now be creative. Now we're gonna see who are the real creatives now, because now you need to go back to them and say to them, okay, cool, this didn't work out, but this is what we can do. So like right now, I'm actually working on a brief for a client for a digital solution. So we'll see how that goes. So man, I don't know if I answered your question. I feel like I didn't answer the question.
You kind of answered my question because I was asking you, how do you feel about the cancellations? And obviously the music industry's been hit hard, right? And a lot of people have canceled their gigs, but music is always going to be there. They'll come back. However, if you were planning to graduate this year, like Venetia was, things might be a little bit different. So Venetia, when were you supposed to graduate?
On Thursday, so the 2nd of April.
On the 2nd of April.
Yeah.
And what are you studying exactly?
So last year I did an honors in history, and this year I'm doing a PGCE, and then hopefully next year I'm gonna do like masters because I want to focus on like curriculum development stuff like that. Yeah.
You just want to stay at school. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, I probably want to get a PhD.
So when you first found out that you wouldn't be walking on that stage, what were your thoughts?
For me, I think graduation symbolizes so much, especially being, at Rhodes. People come from different backgrounds. Some people are first-time graduates, some people, So for me, when I found out that I wouldn't, graduate, it was very hard because last year was a very tough year for me. A lot of things happened. So
Yes.
I just felt like it's not necessarily about walking on the stage with the gown, but it's more about what it symbolizes for me personally, because I never thought that I would make it through my honors. So yeah.
Yeah. So you're feeling a little bit down about it.
Mm.
Yeah. And what are you doing to ensure that you don't stay in that down place?
Well, and I know you're gonna laugh because it's all about school, but I'm just focusing on my master's proposal. Yes, it makes me happy.
You in school. Well, that's a good thing, right? You are obsessed with school. The opposite would be horrible. So that's a good thing. But so what is the university saying about your graduating? Are they saying that you're going to be moved to an online graduation, or are they planning to have a physical event later on in the year?
So originally it was it's being postponed, and then the second communication came back and then said they thinking of releasing our degrees online. And then on Monday morning they released our degrees online and said uh,
Okay, I'm just struggling to
they'll
hear you
about
there,
a
Felicia.
graduation ceremony.
Yeah, we're struggling to hear you. So until you come back to us, Tato, I think I should move to you, because obviously sports is one of those things. Like the whole world basically loses their minds when they can't watch their basketball.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We can. Okay, I'm gonna come back to you, Venetia. So, Tato, I was saying, the world basically loses their minds, right, when they can't have their sports. But there's also this idea that there's this one event that comes every 4 years, and now that event is going to be postponed. Can you tell us a little bit about what you thought when you heard the Olympics are not happening this year?
Proof of victory
Helen, for
over
me
coronavirus.
personally, I think
So essentially,
there'd been a lot of
when
talk
they are
between
held
the
eventually in
international,
2020.
between the Olympics committee with regards to postponing or cancelling the event, and most sports
Proof of victory over coronavirus.
the problem
So essentially,
of deciding of whether they postpone or cancel. Those have been the two biggest words. I'm thinking about something like the Cape Town one run, the F&B one run. It was supposed to, or rather you'd expect it to be postponed, but rather because they've already paid clients, they've already paid suppliers, they've already put that event on the calendar, they've had to cancel it in its whole entirety and have to only have it next year. So when you mention something like the Olympics that only come once every 4 years, you have to then start thinking about the athletes being involved. We're talking about soccer teams, basketball teams, fencing, swimming. Last week, I had a chat with Chad Leclos, South African Olympic swimmer, and he's had to return from a high performance training camp in Turkey to come back here in South Africa, in Cape Town. Completely different types of training, completely different sizes of pools. And he's taken 4 years to prepare for this moment, which is the Olympics. He didn't start last year and be like, yo, it's time to go to the Olympics, let me go get a medal. He's been preparing for 4 years. These are athletes who are trying to break previous records. So it's quite intense. So the whole sporting world was caught in this conundrum of, do we postpone? Do we cancel? Do we play behind closed doors? They tried to do that with the Champions League games. Some of them were played behind closed doors, some of them weren't. But fans still came to the games and the stadiums, even though they were played behind closed doors. So it was really pointless to have any sort of sporting event. It was kind of pointless to have the Olympics. They were in limbo for a while because they were thinking about the financial implications. And yes, sometimes you have to think about the human life, but this is all about the money as well, and the money that they've invested. So we expected the Olympics to be postponed, but it was a hard decision. They were like the last people to cancel the event. Everyone around the world was canceling the event, and the Olympics was the last to say, okay, we give in. We're going to have to postpone it. So just to look at the financial implications of how it's had to be moved, they're moving it to 2021, but they're still keeping the name Tokyo 2020 because they've already paid those marketers. They've already put out that money, that advertising. What do you do? So,
Yeah.
Helen, I think like all of us, we're all in a situation that we've never been in before. Nobody knows what to do. But even if they didn't want to cancel the Olympics, they had to. I mean, who
Yeah.
was going to
Proof
show up
of
and risk
victory
their lives?
over coronavirus.
So they
Yeah.
would
So
just have to
essentially,
respect it.
when they are held,
Yeah. I like that you mentioned that although, we have to look at the human lives, it's also about the money, right? But if we take it back to the human lives, the reason this topic is so interesting to me is people are losing money, yes, but also people are losing memories that they could have had. Venetia was saying that it's not necessarily about walking across the stage, but it's about, feeling like she's conquered something. So, what do you think the future is for sports if the fans cannot be involved? Immediate,
Question.
right?
Wow, I don't even want to imagine that because I think that's the reason why we love sports so much because of that camaraderie, because of fans getting that whole element of gathering. And I like the fact that a lot of industries are trying to go into the digital mode of everything, but there's so much FIFA we can play, there's so much EA sports we can play. We still need that physical action of seeing an athlete. So that would then bring in the broadcasters, as to how they then challenge themselves into feeding the hungry fans the sport they love in a different way, even though they're now on their couches and not physically at the stadium. It would mean that as broadcasters would have to be a bit more creative as to how we get this fanfare out to the fans, even though they're not experiencing it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be
Yeah.
tough.
And that creativity kind of links to what you were saying, Andile, that now we're going to see who the really creative people are. And a big part of your business, right, as a DJ as well as a media person, is talking to people and being around them. So, what are the
Yeah.
creative measures that you're putting in place to still socially distance, but still have that interaction with people?
Well, in a strange way, I think that the media industry, obviously has a rude awakening, and this is a big opportunity for the underdogs like myself. For the longest time, we've been in boardrooms telling brands, you guys need to invest in live streaming, you guys need to invest in digital marketing more and be aggressive because that's where the world has always kind of like hinted like, yo, guys, this is where we're going, but people with money, have always kind of like been like, yeah, we'll get there, but they still stuck in their ways. So I think there's an opportunity for the real creatives now to come up with solutions, and I think that yeah, it's a bad situation for everybody, but I think the underdogs should see this as an opportunity that to realize that now these guys need your solutions. They don't have a choice because they're losing money. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, I think that it's an opportunity for the underdogs, and I think that human beings must realize that the world is changing, and we can't always do things the old way of like being together in big crowds and all that. A lot, like if you look at like young people, more and more young people are introverts. So I think that we need to create platforms or solutions for introverts to also kind of like communicate with the world. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm making sense.
You are, you are.
Yeah.
Venetia, what do you think the creative solution for someone in your position is going to be? How do you still celebrate your achievement? Because it is an achievement to have this degree. How do you still celebrate that even if you don't have the physical aspect of actually walking on the stage?
For me, I think most importantly, also a lesson that I've learned throughout the degree. Like I said, I didn't think I'd make it, but it's more about understanding that your achievement is for yourself and not necessarily, I think in this day and age, it's all about like social media, like, look at me, I've made it. But I think when you actually sit down with yourself and you really just introspect and say, you know what, you've done it, and that's good enough.
Yeah. You know, Andile mentioned something about the underdogs, and it got me thinking, Tato, if you hadn't qualified for the Olympics, well, for the 2020 Olympics, is there still a chance for you as an athlete to say, well, I'm ready now, so when 2020 rolls around, can I still be involved? Is that an actual thing that can happen?
See, Helen, that's the thing about COVID-19. It's such a mixed bag of results, so topsy-turvy. Immediately when they said the Olympics were postponed and would be held in summer 2021, a lot of people didn't see the opportunities for people like Caster Semenya, Wade van Niekerk. Wade van Niekerk has been struggling with a knee injury for quite a while. That is our best hope as South Africa at the Olympics. All right. And of course, Akani Simbine and the rest. But we're all waiting to see Wade van Niekerk break those world records as he did at Rio 2016. So he hasn't been performing so well with regards to his injury and his knee. Nobody really knows how he's doing. The Olympics were really literally going to be the first time we probably saw him in competitive action, and we would be saying, okay, sharp, we've got a chance to get a medal. So it does give those who did not qualify as yet, because there were still a couple of qualifying events. Teams like Hockey SA had already qualified men's and women's. So there were still some more spaces with regards to aquatics, track and field and athletics. So this gives the likes of Caster, Wade van Niekerk a bit of an opportunity to see then, because the Olympics would then have to met out how the calendar goes with regards to qualification, give them more time now to prepare, because they wouldn't have to have these events which were set now for March and April and May. Now they could have these qualification events around September perhaps, or maybe next year. Gives them a bit of time to reassess, and also gives those who didn't qualify a chance to, or rather who didn't stand a chance to qualify come March and April, another chance to reassess their options. So
there's a silver lining.
There is.
All right, before I let you guys go, you know, the watch is all about looking out for each other, right? And finding tangible ways to stay positive beyond the lockdown even. So in your respective spaces, what is the one practical thing that you can say, if you do nothing else today, do this? Shall we start with you, Venetia?
I say, for me, it's just breathe. Take it one day at a time. I think we all so scared, panicking, but like just take time to breathe and reflect and look inward. That's for me important.
Andile?
That's a very good question, Helen. Damn.
You're gonna say hands. We know that part.
Yeah, but you know, for me, you know, I think that the future is digital, and there's some sort of currency in the digital space, and in whatever that you do, make sure that you've got a footprint in the digital space somewhere, somehow, because that's where the future is.
Yeah. Awesome. Tato?
I think from Venetia and Andila, I'd say reconnect. Reconnect with yourself, reconnect with your friends, family, reconnect with your passions. Just reconnect, try and reconnect every day, even if it's 5 seconds, to remember why you're here, why you're doing this. Reconnect.
Yeah. Thank you so much for speaking to me, guys. I hope that the lockdown continues to be good to you. And even after lockdown, I wish you nothing but the best.
This was so cool. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. We'll chat later.
Bye.
I want to say a massive thank you to Tato Moeng, Andile Matovela, and Venetia Jacobs for joining us today and for sharing their stories with us. I am hoping that you have been inspired. I'm hoping that it gives you some ways to think about how you can look out for each other during this time. And I hope to see you tomorrow. My name is Helen Herimbi, and this has been The Watch.